Okay, good morning. I'm Tiny with Tiny's Tiny Homestead, and today I'm going to be talking about buying a new rabbit to add to your rabbitry. I have here, this is Bunny Raitt. She is an Argent Brun, and I'm going to show you some of the things that you should look for when you're buying a new rabbit. So the first thing when you're looking for a new rabbit, and I'm making this video with the assumption that you have already picked out what breed of rabbit you want. You should have researched what is the best breed for your climate. Some rabbits do not do well in the heat. Some rabbits do really well in the heat. So this is with the assumption that you've already picked out the breed that you want. So the first thing to do when you're buying a new rabbit and you found someone that has a rabbit that you want to buy is to ask a lot of questions. You want to ask a lot of questions before even meeting that person and seeing the rabbit. If someone is selling a rabbit and they are either unwilling or cannot answer any of your questions, I would not buy a rabbit from them. A good rabbit breeder will take lots of notes and be able to tell you about any of their rabbits, especially the ones they're selling. So that is the very first thing. There are some people out there that just feel like they don't have to answer questions, and that's not a good seller. They might have beautiful rabbits, but if you're selling something, you have to be able to and have the willingness to answer people's questions. Some questions to ask when you're looking at a rabbit is, first of all, confirm the breed. Confirm the exact breed, because there are rabbits that have a similar name but are not the same, like a Rex and a mini Rex. Those are two completely different rabbits. If you are looking for a Rex, make sure it is not a mini. There's also different chinchillas. Chinchilla is also a color. So you might see a rabbit and they list it as a chinchilla, but it might just be a chinchilla color, and you want to make sure that it's the kind of chinchilla rabbit that you want. There are different breeds of chinchilla rabbit, and then lots of different breeds come in chinchilla color. That's one of the first things to ask. Confirm the breed and confirm if it's a purebred. If you're looking for a pedigree rabbit, a lot of times pedigree rabbits will cost a little bit more. Some people even charge extra to get the pedigree. A pedigree is just like a family tree. It normally goes back 3 or 4 generations, and it'll just list all the rabbit's lineage. A pedigree does not guarantee that it is a purebred rabbit. I could take Bunny Raitt and breed her with Iggy Hop, who is a blue silver fox. So I could create a pedigree for their kits, but they're not purebred rabbits. And just because someone says the rabbit is pedigree does not guarantee it's purebred. That's why you always want to confirm, if you are looking for a purebred rabbit, that rabbit is actually a purebred. Pedigrees normally go back 3 to 4 generations. Anything less than 3 is not a full pedigree. If someone is missing a grandparent, that is not a full pedigree. They need to have at least the parents, the grandparents, and the great-grandparents listed. Some will have the great-great-grands, and that will be Gen 4. You want to confirm the age, the sex, and ask how much the rabbit weighs. An 8-week rabbit, an 8-week-old, and that's a lot of the times you'll be buying an 8-week-old rabbit because that's when they're normally ready to go for most breeds. And lots of people sell them when they're younger because it's more cost effective if they're gonna sell that rabbit to sell it as soon as it's ready to go. So an 8-week rabbit should weigh between 4 and 5 pounds, ideally. I have personally bought rabbits that only weighed like 3.5 or something like that. And that was my decision, and I was okay with that. But if you're looking for a meat rabbit, they should be between 4 and 5 pounds at 8 weeks old. Other things you want to ask is about the parents, about the dam and the sire. If her mom tended to have smaller litters, I can kind of assume that she is going to have smaller litters. This is not always the case, but litter size is genetic. So you want to look for a rabbit who comes from a litter or whose lineage tends to have litter sizes in this, like around the same number that you want. Another thing you want to ask about parents is how good of a mom was their mom. If their mom tended to have kits on the wire, didn't take care of their kits, didn't feed them, that is something that's also can be genetic. So you want to look for a rabbit whose mom was a good mom. Also, you want to look for a rabbit, if this is important to you, which I tend to like rabbits with good personality for an ease of handling, is personality, because personality can also be genetic. All these things can be genetic, so it's important to ask about the parents. You want to ask how fast the kits grow, and if they are raising for meat and butchering their rabbits, you want to ask about how old and how much they weighed at butcher time, because those things can be genetic too. All these things can be genetic. Other things to ask about is health, sore hocks, malocclusion, which would be anything wrong with their teeth, splay legs. All those things can also be genetic, and you don't really want to breed those into your own herd. So if the rabbit has a malocclusion, or the parents have a malocclusion, which would mean like the bottom teeth are growing up above, or their top teeth are growing all crazy, those things can be genetic too. Sore hock can be genetic, and that's just when the pads on their feet here, they don't have enough padding, and they get sores. So those are things you don't really want to breed. It's not a terrible thing. One of my rabbits does tend to get sore hocks. You can treat it, but it can be painful for them, and there's no point in, if you want to breed your own rabbits, you want to make sure they live the best lives and most comfortable life possible. So sore hocks is something you really should be breeding out and not adding in. If they answered any questions you had and you like the rabbit, then you will go and you'll plan to meet them and buy the rabbit. Most people will want to meet you at like a gas station, a grocery store parking lot, something like that. One, it can be for safety. Two, they don't want strangers at their rabbitry, because you can bring diseases in. Unknowingly, you could bring diseases in. So some people will be okay with you coming to their rabbitry. Like, I've gone to rabbitries, and when I picked up Bunny Ray, I went to their home and I went to their rabbitry, and they were fine with it. I was fine with it, they were fine with it, and that's okay. Some people will want you to come because it's more convenient, especially if you're buying more than one rabbit. Some people are like, absolutely not, you cannot come to my rabbitry. That's not a sign that they have a horrible rabbitry or their rabbits are like sick or anything. So they are trying to prevent their rabbits from getting sick. So I've met a lot of people in parking lots, and I've also gone to people's rabbitries. I personally never let anyone come to our home. I always meet people when I'm selling a rabbit, but that's just my personal preference. But I also don't mind going to other people's homes. So it's not necessarily a bad sign if they want to meet you at like a gas station. When you go to pick up your rabbit, you should be prepared to do a full health check. People can say whatever they want to say, and there are bad breeders out there. There's a lot of really good breeders, but there are some bad breeders, just like with everything else. So you want to be prepared to do a full health check. You should bring a scale. This is the scale we currently have. It's just a small pet scale, because you're going to want to weigh your rabbit. You want to bring a scale to weigh them. You're going to want to sex them, because even the best breeders can get the sex wrong, especially when they're young, like 8-10 weeks. So you want to make sure that you sex the rabbit. You want to weigh it, and then you want to do a full health check, which includes holding it and touching it. You want to check the ears, eyes, nose, teeth, nails, feet, hocks, fur and the body type. So I'm going to show you right now how I would check a rabbit. After you weigh your rabbit, you want to sex your rabbit. So to sex your rabbit, you're going to hold them and you're going to kind of hold their ears back like this and put them on their back. Bunny Ray's a good girl. And down here by their tail, you are going to pull their tail back and push up. And you want to push a little firm. You don't want to push hard, but you want to push firm because sometimes the boys can hide. So Bunny Ray is a girl. A taco is a girl, a burrito is a boy. You can also hold them and do this. You want to check their eyes, you want to check their face. Make sure they have clear eyes and no goop or crust. You want to check their nose and make sure their nose is clean and that they don't have any snot. You want to make sure the rabbit's not sneezing or coughing or anything like that. You are going to check their teeth. Some rabbits don't like this. Bunny Ray's not too happy. And then, I know Bunny Ray, I'm sorry. Bunny Ray's upset with me. And you're going to just pull their top lip up and make sure their top teeth are over top of their bottom teeth and that their top teeth are not going crazy and there's no signs that anyone has cut them. So some people have rabbits with a malocclusion and they will just cut their teeth, which it doesn't hurt the rabbit. It makes like a straight cut. So you really don't want to breed malocclusion. It can be really uncomfortable and the kits can have a really hard time eating and you can lose kits because they can't nurse because their teeth are all wonky. You also want to check their ears and make sure their ears are clear and there's no goop or crust or black spots or brown spots. And if they have anything in their ears, that can be a sign of ear mites, which is treatable. It's fairly easy to treat, but it's best to not bring anything that you can help into your rabbitry. You're also going to want to check the back of their neck. This is the easiest way to tell if a rabbit has fur mites, which they also call walking dandruff. You would see like dandruff. Sometimes you can even see the mites, which is gross. It's easiest to see back here because the fur is thin. That's why I say check the back. If they have fur mites, that's also easily treatable. But again, you don't want to bring stuff into your rabbitry that you can prevent. And if they have ear mites or fur mites, I would not buy a rabbit from that person because a good breeder will not sell a rabbit that has a parasite or a disease. If they are willing to sell a rabbit that has a parasite, you have no idea what else could be wrong with your rabbit or how they're treating their rabbits. Personally, if I had a rabbit that had ear mites that someone wanted to buy, I would tell that person, I'm not selling this rabbit. I would treat the ear mites, quarantine them for 30 days, make sure it's all cleared up, and then sell that rabbit. Even if you treat the ear mites and they look like they go away, you want to wait the full 30 days quarantine. Any good breeder should do that. They should not be selling rabbits that already have a parasite. That is also a red flag. If you find that a rabbit has like ear mites and then you say, oh, this rabbit has ear mites, and they're like, oh yeah, I know that. That's a huge red flag. You also want to check nails. So apparently my video got cut short. This is one of Janis Hoplin's kits. This kit is 7 weeks old. So one thing you want to check for is splay legs. So splay legs are legs that go out like this. Normally rabbit legs, and this is how you'll check splay legs. You'll pick the rabbit up. With this one, I'll just pick it up. So you see how its legs both point straight forward. Splay legs will point out. That is genetic, and when they're like walking, they can be like this, which you don't want. You want to do a body check. So in order to do that, you will pose the rabbit. You want its front paws, like from the joint, which would be like their elbow, to be flat, and their front paw to be lined up underneath their eye. And then you want to take the back and tuck it under, and you want their back paws to be lined up with their like knee or whatever this is. And it should be like a straight line. I'm sorry, like this. So you want the front of the toes to be lined up, and it should be lined up like this, and they should peak, their hump here should peak right on this straight line. Some rabbits will peak too early, some peak late. You can breed those things out, but if you're just starting out with rabbits, you want to make sure that they already have good body type. And then you're going to want to run your hands like this along their back. You should be able to feel their spine. If you can't feel their spine, that's a sign of a fat rabbit, obesity. If you can feel their spine too much, that's a sign of an underweight rabbit. So you should be able to feel it lightly. And then when you run your hands along, I'm gonna pinch this rabbit a little bit. It's not gonna hurt it, but I'm gonna show you. You don't want your hands to catch on their hip. That is a sign of not a good meat rabbit. You want your hand to run smoothly along the back, and it should be nice and thick and meaty, especially around this area, their hock. Because if you're raising for meat, then this is where a lot of the meat is, back here. So you want this to be nice and full and thick. You also want to check their booties and make sure they're nice and round. He's not or she's not pulling properly. I haven't sexed these yet. You want to make sure this is nice and round and it's not pinched. It's not pinched, but you don't want this to be pinched at all, because that's where all your meat comes from. So that's the general health check that you want to do on your rabbit. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got a lot of good information from this video, and I wish everybody out there happy and healthy rabbits. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.